Well, this is a little bit exciting. I think I'll title this video the one in which Kelly finally gets around to doing some more clasped weft. I think it's about maybe 2 years since my last clasped weft video, and people have asked me quite a bit to do some more, and so that is what I'm going to do. I finally got around to it. So we're going to do a 3-color clasped weft. Just to let you know, if I mention any product names or any brands in this video, I like to share the brands that I use and love, but they are not affiliates. I don't earn anything from mentioning them. I'm just sharing the love. So I have my little loom set up here. This is an Ashford samplet. I've got a 7.5 dent reed in that. And I'm using an Australian 8-ply wool, which is probably in your area a light worsted. For the sample, I have warped 64 ends, which is 32 slots. You'll notice that I have here one colour loaded with the shuttle. It's a different colour to the warp. And I have another colour on this side and another colour on this side. So I've got 4 contrasting colours all together. I only need one colour loaded on the shuttle, and the other 2 are going to be drawing from the balls on either side. You don't have to have these huge, massive balls of yarn like I do. Just whatever you've got, even if it's small amounts. It just needs to be in ball or cake form. Okay, first thing is to get comfortable with your loom. Because I'm just using my small loom, I'm just going to prop it against myself and a table. I'm going to leave the shuttle there for now, and I'm going to pick up one of the balls of yarn on the left, just unwind a little bit and drop the rest to the floor, leaving a tail up here, and then I'm going to do the same with the yarn from the other side. These yarns are all from Bendigo Woolen Mills. I love them because look at the great bright colours for a start, really vivid colours, lovely Australian wool, and it's really very cost effective. So I'm going to pop that one on the floor as well. Okay, so first I'm going into the up shed, and I'm going to get these organised before I actually start weaving properly. I've just done a tiny bit of plain weave here just to separate the warp and have it all looking nice before I start it. So I'm just going to pop that into the up shed, 1, 2, 3, 4 threads deep, leaving a tail. And I'm going to do the same with the other, about 4 threads in, leaving a tail. And they just sit there for a moment. Now I'm going to grab my shuttle yarn, and this is going to be my middle yarn. And I'm going to bring it back up approximately in the middle. Now you can count your slots and everything to see exactly where your middle is if you want to. I'm just going to come up here about there. So come up through the shed, and I'm leaving a fairly lengthy tail at the back so that I don't just pull it out when I get started. Okay, so I've got the 3 tails ready to go. I'm going to change sheds, so into the down shed now. Okay, just arranging my tails to make sure they're not sticking up too much. Okay, so I'm going to start with the middle yarn, my shuttle yarn, and I'm going to go into the shed exactly where the thread is coming out. Going over to the side, but I'm not going to pull so hard that I pull my tail out of the back. And initially, it might be easier if you actually hold on to that tail at the back. Okay, so now we've got 2 strands of yarn on the left, and don't worry, I'm going to show this up closer in a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this yarn over the top of the shuttle yarn so that it travels underneath the yellow yarn, or the green rather. It is green, yes. And then I'm going to take that shuttle through just as though I'm weaving an ordinary pick. We're not changing sheds at this point. Okay, when I get to the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this travel under the other yarn. Back into the shed, and then I'm going to come up exactly where I came out of, so where my tail was hanging down the back. Alright, now that I'm at this point, I can decide how far I want to bring each of these picks in. I can bring them in just a little, or I can bring them in a lot. So I'm going to leave the green just a little, and I'm going to bring the pink in a bit more than that. Okay, so I can pop my shuttle out of the way. We're still in the down shed, and I'm going to beat. Now we change sheds into the up shed, and I do have a couple of loops at the corners, at the edges. I'm just going to re-pull those tails in. They've just gotten a little bit loose because I was in that shed for quite a while. So I'm going to pull that one in too, and this tail at the back, and here. Okay, so now let's see what we've got. We've got 3 interlocking yarns, and I haven't done them in any particular order as far as how far I want these yarns to travel in, because I like the random sort of effect of Clasped Weft. So next shed is the up shed. We've gone into that one. You can see where the blue yarn's coming out here. This is my shuttle yarn. I'm going to make it travel into that shed in the gap where it's coming out of. Okay, so down through the top threads but into the shed and out the side. Now just a little tip, when you're pulling that yarn through, don't pull it so hard that you start to distort the other threads and start pulling on those. You want to have it so that it's not bulging out. You don't want a loop sitting out of the work, but you don't want to pull it so far that it distorts. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same thing again. The blue weft from the shuttle goes underneath the green. Okay, so what we're doing here is locking them around each other, and then it goes back through the shed, and this time I'm going to pull that green a little bit further just because I want to. And then I'm going to go under the pink yarn on the opposite side. Now those two are overlocking as well. And I'm going to bring the shuttle back in. We didn't change sheds the whole time. And I'm bringing it back into where I first came out. And if you're not sure where you first came out, it can get a little bit confusing. You've still got the tail at the back. I don't know if you can see here, there's my tail. If I put my hand underneath, because I left the tail quite long, I can feel and see where the tail was, and I can go, that's where I first came out of. And this time I'll make the pink a little bit shorter, just for contrast. Now we can beat back into the down. Okay. Going back into that shed where I came out of, and over to the edge, and not pulling too hard. Sometimes it's useful to just hold on to that warp thread that it's wrapping around, just to make sure it doesn't pull too much. And then we go under the green, back through the shed. At this point I'm going to decide how much I want that green to be pulled in. Let's say to about there this time. On the right hand side we go under the pink and back into the shed. Once again I'm looking for that tail because I'm not quite sure where I was. There, I was there. Okay, this time I'm going to pull the pink in only a really little bit because I do want some really contrasty lines. Beat and up shed. Okay, so you can see that we take care of one line of all of our colours in one shed and then change to the next shed. And we go down into that shed again. Go underneath the green. Back into the shed. I'll decide how far I want that green to come in. I'm going to let it come in a bit further this time. And then under the pink and back into the shed, looking for that entry point again, entry and exit point, and it's there. This time I'm going to bring my pink over a bit further as well. Okay, and beat. Into the down shed again. And we're basically just repeating those moves, and you can either decide ahead of time how you want your wefts to come in. For example, whether you want to kind of have them in blocks of colour, you can do that in straight lines, or whether you want to do more of the sort of thing that I'm doing and just let it all happen for itself. Both ways are really lovely. If you want blocks of colour, you just need to do a bit of pre-planning and I guess pay more attention to your entry and exit points. And that's about all there is to this. Are you surprised by how easy it is? It's really very simple. Okay, back in. We'll do one more and then we'll go in a little bit closer. Underneath the green, back through the shed, pulling in, back underneath the pink, coming through, finding where I was and coming out there again. Into down shed. Okay, so we're in the down shed and here's my shuttle coming out from here, so that is where it's going to go into. Not pulling too hard, and around that green thread at the edge, back through the shed, and then around this edge and back into where I left off, where I entered the shed. And you can see that as I go along, I'm just deciding my arrangements as I go. Into the up shed. Okay, down into there where I'm coming out. Around the edge of the green at the side, right back through. I'm going to pull it in a bit further this time. Around the pink and back out where I started. And if you're worried about your edges, they tend to sort of take care of themselves as long as you're putting a bit of tension on. So when you're pulling that into the shed, put a bit of tension on and then it will create the right amount of tension on the edges as well. Into down shed again. Change sheds and start again. So now that you've mastered 3 colours, Clasped Weft, I just know that someone is going to ask me, can you do 4 colours? Well, I did have a look at this ahead of time, so my answer to that question is watch the next video. Okay, so when you've finished, you want to end off those threads. This is how you do that. Take it into the shed, and it has to be a different shed to the last one you were in. Cut your yarns that you're using, leaving a couple of inches of tails for each one. Tuck them into the shed like so. Tuck it in. This one goes down into the shed as before, and then take it across 3, 4, 5, I've got about 5 there, warp threads, and pull that down as well. Beat them, and then you can either continue weaving or you can finish.
Have you visited my online weaving school? Not only do you get access to almost 40 classes, you also get access to a special members group on Facebook where we have giveaways, focused discussions, and heaps of support, as well as an awesome community. Come over and check it out.